He's just a quiet old man holding his service dog on a quiet porch. The SWAT team sees a threat. They don't ask. They don't listen. They tase him. Hard. But here's what they didn't know. That man is Master Sergeant McKinley, a decorated war hero with allies far beyond the neighborhood. 6 minutes later, the National Guard surrounds the block. Stick around because the badge that gave them power, it's about to become the evidence that takes it all away. Justice is coming. Don't forget to drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and what time you found this video. Also, hit that subscribe button. The morning fog clings to Captain James Miller's tactical vest as he stands before his SWAT team, the weight of his badge pressing against his chest like a medal of honor. The briefing room's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across his face as he delivers what he believes will be his finest hour. 4. High-risk warrant armed suspect potential veteran. His voice carries authority earned through 15 years of unwavering service. 121 Oak Street. We go in hard, we go in fast. The radio crackles with affirmatives, a symphony of submission that usually steadies his resolve. But today, something gnaws at the edges of his confidence. A whisper he chooses to silence. Captain Miller's fingers trace the embossed surface of his badge, its metal cool against his skin. Think like a hero, act like a warrior. He mutters the department's motto, a shield against doubt. Dawn hasn't yet broken when the armored vehicle rolls through suburban streets. Captain Miller watches through tactical goggles as his team takes position, their movements precise, rehearsed. A dance of power he's choreographed countless times. The target house sits quiet, unsuspecting. A neighbor's phone catches the first flashbang's arc through the pre-dawn air. The door splinters under the battering ram's assault. Captain Miller leads the charge, adrenaline singing through his veins. "Police, get down!" His voice thunders through the house, but something's wrong. The armed suspect is an elderly man in pajamas, hands, raised military photos lining his walls. John Mac McKinley, retired Master Sergeant, stands trembling before them. "Please." McKinley's voice wavers. "I served this country for 30 years, but Captain Miller's momentum carries him forward, pride drowning out reason. He shoves the veteran against the wall's zip ties, cutting into aged wrists. Someone's filming. The neighbor's phone captures every second, every mistake. "You don't understand who you're dealing with." Captain Miller snarls his badge, catching the first rays of sunrise through the broken door. The words taste like victory until a young officer whispers, "Sir, this is Master Sergeant McKinley. He's received the Silver Star." The world shifts beneath Captain Miller's boots. His perfect operation crumbles as phones light up across the neighborhood videos, uploading a hashtag forming Buncher SWAT shame. Within minutes, his face is everywhere, his actions playing on repeat. 15 years of building my reputation, my authority. Each promotion, each successful raid adding another brick to my fortress of certainty. But now, watching my team's uncertain glances, feeling the weight of my badge turn from pride to burden, I wonder, was I protecting the community or just my own power? Have you ever stood at the peak of your authority, only to realize you're standing on a foundation of sand? Will Captain James Miller's empire of absolute authority survive the rising tide of accountability? As his phone buzzes with notifications, and his team's loyalty wavers, the morning sun fully rises on a day that will reshape not just his career, but the very meaning of power and justice in law enforcement. Type "power falls" if you've ever witnessed authority crumble in the face of truth. The badge that felt so reassuring moments ago now burns against Captain Miller's chest as social media explodes with outrage. His perfect record, his unquestioned authority, everything he's built over 15 years balances on the edge of a digital knife. And somewhere in the depths of his mind, that initial doubt he ignored grows louder, whispering of consequences yet to come. SWAT Captain James Miller stared at his reflection in the precinct bathroom mirror, fingers tracing the edge of his badge. The morning's raid kept replaying in his mind, each detail more damning than the last. The intelligence report lay crumpled in his fist. 121 Oakwood Drive, not 123. Such a simple mistake, yet one that would trigger an avalanche. His phone buzzed incessantly, social media exploding with footage of the raid captured by neighbors. Master Sergeant McKinley's face contorted in pain as the taser struck him, his service dog yelping. The hashtag #JarfMillerMistake, trending nationwide. James Miller had always prided himself on precision, on control. Now that control was slipping through his fingers like sand. 20 years of tactical operations flashed through his mind. His mentor, Captain Richards, teaching him the SWAT motto, swift, decisive, absolute. Richards' voice echoed in his head. Hesitation kills Miller. Better to act wrong than not act at all. How many times had that philosophy been wrong? How many other mistakes lay buried in their wake? The department's internal database glowed on his computer screen. His hands trembled as he typed McKinley John into the search bar. The results made his stomach turn. Not just a retired Master Sergeant, a decorated war hero, PTSD counselor, community volunteer. Each detail felt like another nail in his professional coffin. Sir, Officer Chen's voice cracked with uncertainty. The chief wants to see you, and there's reporters outside. James Miller straightened his uniform muscle memory from countless press conferences. But this time was different. This time he was the story. His phone pinged again. A notification from the Police Officers Association. Study shows aggressive tactical responses lead to 70% higher civilian casualty rates. The weight of realization crashed down. How many other veterans' mothers' children had they traumatized? How many times had swift, decisive, absolute meant wrong, devastating, irreversible? The badge felt like lead against his chest. His mentor's words twisted into something darker now. Better to act wrong than not act at all. The mantra of a system that valued force over facts, control over conscience. James Miller had been its perfect product until today. The walk to the chief's office stretched eternal. Each step echoed with memory's training sessions emphasizing dominance over dialogue, after-action reports where suspect subdued, masked ugly truths, commendations for decisive action that now felt hollow. Type control if you've ever realized your power was poisoned flashed across his mind, the kind of social media prompt now haunting his reality. The footage played on every screen he passed. In the break room, rookie officers watched with horror. Their whispers carried, "Could have been any of us." But it wasn't any of them. It was James Miller, SWAT captain, who gave the order. James Miller, who ignored the house number. James Miller, whose certainty had shattered an innocent man's peace. Research papers littered the chief's desk. Studies on military-style policing statistics on mistaken raids, psychological impacts on victims. Each page seemed to mock 2 decades of standard procedure. You've seen the studies, Miller. The chief's voice carried no warmth. 40% of high-intensity raids target wrong addresses. We're not protecting and serving. We're traumatizing and terrorizing. James Miller's fingers brushed his badge again, feeling every ridge and dent. Each mark now seemed like a scar. Not badges of honor, but records of harm. The morning's raid wasn't an anomaly. It was the inevitable result of a system he'd helped build and maintain. His phone buzzed one final time, McKinley's service record forwarded by a journalist. 3 tours of duty. Silver Star. Now reduced to a twitching figure on his own porch, another victim of James Miller's unquestioning adherence to broken protocols. Have you ever watched your whole world view crumble? The question burned in his throat as he faced the chief, the badge's weight now unbearable against his chest. Captain James Miller's hands trembled as he stared at the badge lying in his desk drawer, its golden surface now seeming to mock him with every gleam. The viral footage played again on his phone. That sickening moment when Master Sergeant McKinley's body hit the porch, a sound that would haunt him forever. 6 hours had passed since the raid, and the world had turned against him. The surveillance feeds in his office showed crowds gathering outside the precinct, their signs bearing hashtags he couldn't bear to read. Vet disrespect was trending #1 nationwide, with celebrities and politicians sharing the footage. Each replay featured that haunting sequence: his team's excessive force, McKinley's service dog's desperate barks, and worst of all, his own voice shouting those damning orders. Captain Miller's phone buzzed again, another death threat. He'd stopped counting after the first 100. The chief had already called twice, each conversation more strained than the last. "This isn't just bad publicity, Miller," he'd said. "This is a nightmare." His fingers traced the edge of his badge, remembering how proudly he'd polished it that morning. Now it felt heavy with shame. The thud of helicopter rotors grew louder outside his window. National Guard aircraft circling like vultures. His authority was slipping away with each passing minute. A knock at his door made him jump. Officer Chen, once his most loyal deputy, stood in the doorway with resignation papers in hand. "Sir, I can't be part of this anymore." The words hit harder than any death threat. As Chen walked away, Captain Miller noticed other officers avoiding his gaze through the office blinds. The footage played again on the precinct's breakroom TV. CNN's anchor was interviewing McKinley's former commanding officer. This is what happens when power goes unchecked. Miller's throat tightened as he watched himself on screen, his past arrogance now painfully obvious. The chief's final call came as darkness fell. "The mayor's demanding action, Miller. Internal Affairs will be there in the morning." The words barely registered as Captain Miller watched another helicopter sweep past his window, its searchlight briefly illuminating his office like an interrogation lamp. His phone pinged with a new alert. Footage from inside the raid had leaked. His orders, his decisions, his mistakes all laid bare for the world to see. The department's carefully crafted statement crumbled in the face of raw video evidence. The chaos he'd orchestrated played out in high definition, each frame damning him further. Standing at his office window, Captain Miller watched as news vans gathered below their satellite dishes, reaching skyward like accusing fingers. The service dog's barks echoed in his mind, a sound that would follow him into retirement, or worse. Have you seen what happens when authority crumbles? Type fall if you've witnessed power collapse. An email notification flashed across his screen. The governor had just announced a full investigation into the department's practices. Captain Miller's empire wasn't just crumbling, it was being demolished brick by brick, broadcast live for the world to see. His badge caught the light one final time as he closed the drawer. 6 hours ago, he'd been untouchable. Now, as National Guard vehicles rolled into view, Captain James Miller realized he'd become the very thing he'd sworn to fight against. A symbol of injustice captured forever in viral infamy. Through the windows of my office, I watched the National Guard vehicles roll in their diesel engines, growling like approaching thunder. I SWAT Captain James Miller feel my throat tighten as the reality crashes down. 15 years of command reduced to this moment. The weight of my badge seems to multiply as I walk the precinct hallway, every step echoing with finality. Officers who once snapped to attention now avert their eyes. The protesters' chants pierce through the walls. "Justice for Mac, justice for Mac," each repetition hammering home my undoing. "Major General Armitage will see you now," his aide announces, and I enter the makeshift command center that was my briefing room just yesterday. The general's presence fills the space, his stars gleaming under harsh fluorescent lights. My badge makes a hollow sound as I place it on his desk. Captain Miller. He begins his voice carrying decades of authority. Explain to me how a decorated SWAT commander authorized a full tactical raid on a retired Master Sergeant's home without proper intelligence or verification. The cameras are rolling. CNN, Fox, local stations, all live streaming my moment of reckoning. Miller's fall is probably trending already. My hands tremble slightly as I reach for the water glass, the ice cubes clinking like handcuffs. Sir, The rehearsed excuses die in my throat. Behind the general on a muted screen, they're showing the footage again, Mac's security cameras capturing my team breaking down his door, the flashbangs, the terror in his eyes as we stormed in. A decorated veteran reduced to trauma because of my command decision. The protesters' chants grow louder. Justice for Mac, justice for Mac. I failed him, sir. I finally say, my voice cracking. I failed everyone. We had anonymous tips about weapons stockpiling, but I never verified. I wanted a high-profile raid. I pause, the truth bitter on my tongue. I wanted to show force, to remind the community who was in charge. General Armitage's eyes narrow. And now the community is reminding you, Captain Miller, that such power comes with accountability. My team photo on the wall catches my eye. All of us proud in our tactical gear, my badge gleaming. That badge represented everything authority respect control. Now it lies cold and lifeless on the desk between us. The reforms begin today. The general continues. Your precinct will be the example of what happens when power is abused. Do you understand the gravity of your actions, Captain Miller? Yes, sir. The words barely escape my lips. Through the window, I see more National Guard vehicles arriving, their presence a physical manifestation of my failure. The protesters have a new chant now. Miller must go, Miller must go. For the record, General Armitage gestures to the cameras, state your admission of responsibility. I face the cameras directly, knowing this clip will be viral within hours. I, SWAT Captain James Miller, take full responsibility for the unauthorized raid on Master Sergeant McKinley's home. I abused my authority, violated protocols, and betrayed the trust of both a decorated veteran and the community I swore to protect. Then drop one if you believe power must come with accountability. The general's aide appears with papers, my resignation documents. As I sign them, my hand shakes so badly I nearly tear the page. Outside, the National Guard begins establishing perimeter control, their organized efficiency, a stark contrast to my tactical team's chaos yesterday. Your actions will be investigated fully, General Armitage states. The reforms we implement here will ensure no other commander makes the same mistakes. I take one last look at my badge before standing. 15 years of command ended by pride and power unchecked. The protesters' voices have changed again. Change is coming, change is coming. They're right. Change is coming, and I, SWAT Captain James Miller, am its catalyst. Not through glory, as I'd once imagined, but through disgrace. Share this video if you believe every leader must be held accountable. Miller's fall. Through the reinforced glass of the police academy's display case, Captain James Miller stares at his old SWAT badge, now a teaching exhibit, alongside photos documenting that devastating morning at Master Sergeant McKinley's home. The morning sun catches the tarnished metal, and Captain James Miller's reflection fragments across its surface, much like his former certainties about power and authority. The memorial bell chimes outside its gentle tone, piercing Captain James Miller's consciousness. 7 months since the raid, and still each ring feels like judgment. Captain James Miller's hands instinctively reach for where his badge used to rest, finding only empty fabric. The gesture has become a ritual of remembrance, a physical reminder of transformation. Today's lecture will be different. Captain James Miller announces to the fresh-faced cadets filling the classroom. His voice carries the weight of experience as he dims the lights and pulls up the viral footage that changed everything. Miller's mistake still trends occasionally, especially during police reform discussions. The irony doesn't escape Captain James Miller. His greatest failure became his most powerful teaching tool. The footage plays, and Captain James Miller watches himself on that fateful morning leading the raid with such misplaced conviction. Each frame burns with arrogance he can barely recognize now. When Master Sergeant McKinley's voice rings out on the video identifying himself as a veteran, Captain James Miller's stomach churns, just as it did during the congressional hearings. I believed authority came from force. Captain James Miller tells his students, his voice thick with emotion. Master Sergeant McKinley taught me it comes from service. The words still feel raw, honest, in a way that would have been impossible 7 months ago. Even now, Captain James Miller remembers the unexpected meeting at the VA hospital, where McKinley's forgiveness shattered the last of his old worldview. The reforms spawned from that morning spread across departments like wildfire. Captain James Miller's testimony, once given through gritted teeth, became a cornerstone of the new training protocols. The mandatory veteran sensitivity training, the revised raid procedures, the community oversight boards. Each element bears the invisible watermark of that morning's mistakes. Your badge isn't power. Captain James Miller continues, touching the empty space on his chest. It's a promise to protect, to serve, to listen. The words echo through the classroom, and Captain James Miller sees understanding dawn in young eyes that remind him of his own decades ago. After class, Captain James Miller stands before the memorial wall. Master Sergeant McKinley's photo hangs among other veterans who've suffered similar injustices. The bell chimes again, and Captain James Miller straightens his instructor's uniform, accepting its humbler authority. In his office, the final report sits framed on the wall, the McKinley Incident Systematic Reforms and Recommendations. Captain James Miller's testimony fills pages, each word a brick in the foundation of change. His phone buzzes, another department requesting his reformed training program. The constant reminders of his failure have become stepping stones toward redemption. Share this story. Captain James Miller tells each graduating class, not because it's mine, but because it belongs to every officer who must choose between power and service. The Academy's corridors echo with purpose as he walks them now, each step measured by the weight of wisdom hard-won. Type change starts. If you believe one person's transformation can reshape a system. The setting sun catches Captain James Miller's reflection in his office window as he prepares tomorrow's lesson. The badge in the display case gleams dully, no longer a symbol of authority, but a testament to the power of humility and the strength found in admitting when we're wrong.